Hello again. We already know that for processing of continuous time signals through digital signal processors that are basically discrete time systems, it was required to convert the continuous time signals to discrete time samples. Sampling theorem tells us the rate at which the continuous time signals should be sampled. As per this theorem, the sampling rate should be greater than or equal to twice of the highest frequency component Fm present in the signal xt. The minimum sampling rate or the Nyquist sampling rate is equal to twice of Fm, but in practical applications, the sampling rate is always kept higher than the minimum sampling rate. After processing the discrete time signals through the digital signal processor, we need to reconstruct the continuous time signal. This process of reconstructing a continuous time signal from its samples is known as interpolation. In this video, we'll look at some ways that can help us fit a continuous signal onto the discrete sample values. When the continuous time signal xt is sampled by multiplying it with a periodic impulse train with periodicity of capital T seconds, the sample signal also consists of impulses with spacing of t seconds. However, the strength of each impulse changes and it takes the value of xt at time instants that are integer multiples of this sampling duration t. Considering xt as a band limited signal with Fm as the highest frequency component in it, the spectra of the sample signal can be obtained by convolving the spectrums of xt and that of the impulse train. This results in multiple copies of the same spectrum xf, spaced every fs hertz. One thing to note here is that the spectrum of the sample signal is scaled by a factor of 1 over t. The magnitude of xf at f is equal to 0 is 1, while that of xs0 is 1 over t times xf. We are interested in the yellow spectrum that is centered at 0, as our original spectrum xf was also centered at 0. For this, we pass the entire spectrum through a low pass filter with cutoff frequency of Fm. The gain of this filter should be kept as capital T so as to compensate for the magnitude that was scaled by 1 over t. This filtering of the yellow spectrum using a low pass filter can be thought of as multiplication of the entire spectrum with a rectangular pulse of width twice of Fm and height of t. The spectrum thus recovered is exactly that of the continuous time signal xt. Since the filter used for reconstruction is an ideal filter that has a very sharp cutoff at Fm, the process of reconstruction will be known as ideal interpolation. This multiplication operation, that is multiplying the spectrum of the sample signal with a gate pulse, has been done in the frequency domain. The low pass filter acts as a system having the transfer function hf. The input to the system is the spectrum of the sample signal and the output will be the spectrum of the recovered or the reconstructed continuous time signal. Now, what will be the equivalent operation in the time domain? The time convolution property of Fourier transform says that multiplication in frequency domain is equivalent to convolution in the time domain. Thus, in the time domain, the recovered signal can be obtained by convolving the sampled signal xst by the impulse response ht of the low pass filter. So, given the transfer function hf, its impulse response ht can be calculated by taking its inverse Fourier transform. That is, we have to calculate the inverse Fourier transform of the low pass filter, which as discussed is the gate pulse of width twice of Fm and height t. We know that the inverse Fourier transform of a gate pulse is a sinc pulse. There are actually two ways we can define the sinc function. First one is the unnormalized sinc function defined as sin x over x, and the second is the normalized sinc function defined as sin pi x over pi x. Difference between the two definitions is that in the normalized sinc function, the parameter on the x-axis is normalized by pi. The height of the sinc pulse, that is the value of ht at t is equal to 0, is given by the area under HF. If you recall, then T is the sampling duration and is the inverse of sampling frequency Fs. The sampling rate is considered to be the Nyquist sampling rate, so the sampling frequency is twice of the maximum frequency. Substituting this value of T gives the height of the sync pulse as 1. Thus, the impulse response using unnormalized sync function is sync by T over capital T, while using the normalized sync function is sync T over capital T. Since the sync function is derived from a sine signal, therefore the zero crossings of this sync pulse can be calculated by substituting 2 pi fmt as plus minus n times of pi. Thus the zero crossings are at integer multiples of 1 over twice of fm, which is also equal to t. Subsequent zero crossings are at 2t, 3t, 4t and so on, and these are the sampling instants. From this figure, we notice that the value of sync pulse is 0 at all the zero crossing points except at t is equal to 0, where its value is 1. So this is an important finding that at any sampling instant t, 2t, 3t and so on, except at t is equal to 0, of course, the value of the sync pulse is 0. This information will be needed in the next slide when we'll have many such sync pulses. For the remaining discussion, we'll consider the normalized form of sync function. Now that we have computed the impulse response of the low-pass filter, which is a sync pulse, the reconstructed signal in the time domain is the convolution of the sampled signal and this impulse response ht. Let's observe this convolution process. We know that the convolution of an impulse with a function gives the same function, but the function shifts to the location of the impulse and its amplitude is scaled by the strength of the impulse. So, when the black impulse convolves with the sync pulse, the result is this black sync pulse, which is now located at the position of the black impulse, and the height of this black sync pulse is not 1, but it is equal to the strength of the black impulse, which is equal to x of 0. We can observe that since the black pulse has negative strength, the sync pulse also has a negative amplitude. Similarly, when a cyan-colored impulse convolves with the sync pulse, we get this cyan-colored sync pulse that has the location and strength of the cyan impulse. As we move on, we obtain as many sync pulses as are the samples. Mathematically, this can be written using the convolution sum formula. The sample signal was obtained by multiplying the continuous time signal with an impulse train of periodicity t. When ht is convolved with these impulses, we get the delayed and scaled impulse responses. Substituting ht as sync of t over t gives us this expression. We observe that these sync pulses are delayed by k and their zero crossings are at integer multiples of the sampling instants t. Thus, the recovered signal is the summation of these k number of sync pulses that are amplitude scaled by the strength of the respective impulse and shifted to the right, or to say delayed by integer multiples of capital T. Hence, at any time instant, the value of the recovered signal is obtained by adding the values of all the sync pulses at that time instant. We can quickly check this, at least at the sampling instants, that whether this reconstruction is proper or not. Expanding in terms of k gives us this expression. Let's substitute a few values of n in this expansion, say n as 0, 1, 2 and so on. Since sync of 0 is 1, while the value of this sync function at any other integer is 0, so we can see that the reconstructed sample is exactly equal to the sample at that instant. We can check this on the figure as well. Let's say the sample named as x of 60, the green sample. At this time instant, there is one and only one sync pulse that is contributing to the reconstruction, and that is the green sync pulse. Since all the other sync pulses are spaced such that at this time instant they are having their zero crossings, they don't contribute in the recovery of the signal. Thus, the recovered signal value is exactly equal to the sampled value. This way, Ideal interpolation has helped us in fitting a smooth curve onto the discrete sample values. I would like to reiterate the fact that for ideal interpolation, the impulse response of the filter should be a sinc function. But this function has two issues. First issue is that it extends up to infinity, and the second issue is that it is non-causal, as the impulse response is not zero for negative values of time. However, these issues can be resolved. What we can do is we symmetrically keep only a few cycles of the sinc pulse and chop off the remaining cycles so that the pulse is of finite duration, and then we delay this finite duration pulse such that the impulse response becomes causal. That can be done. But the question is that can we have some simpler functions as impulse response of these filters that could be used for reconstruction? Let's have a look. Assume that instead of this sinc pulse as the impulse response, there is a gate pulse and a triangular pulse as well. Both of them are of finite duration but are non-causal, as the impulse response is not zero for values of t that are less than 0. But that's not a big issue. Delaying the gate pulse by half of its width and the triangular pulse also by half of its base width results in an impulse response that is causal. We'll consider both of these cases one by one. But before that, remember, this delaying of impulse responses should result in a delayed output by the same time amount if the system is a linear time invariant system. Practically, the width of these pulses is very small, and this delay imposes a negligible effect on the output signal. Let's see these impulse responses. Considering the first case, when the impulse response is a gate pulse, when the samples of a signal convolve with this gate pulse, we obtain a gate pulse for each sample whose height is equal to the strength of the sample and centered at the location of the impulses. Since the signal is approximated using constant functions, the reconstructed signal looks like a staircase. But this impulse response is non-causal, and by delaying it by t/2, we get an impulse response that is causal. When the samples are convolved with this delayed impulse response, then all of the gate pulses shift by t/2, and the total effect is that the whole reconstructed signal shifts to the right or it gets delayed by t/2. This is the simplest form of interpolation, and this filter is also known as zero-order Huld filter. Its simplicity lies in the fact that it can be implemented using a simple sample and hold circuit. Somehow this is a very rough approximation as there are many discontinuities as compared to the original signal, which was a smooth curve. Improvement in a zero-order Huld filter can be done by using first-order Huld filter, and that leads to linear interpolation. In linear interpolation, the approximations are again done using straight lines, but these lines now have some slopes. The impulse response of these linear interpolators are shaped as a triangular pulse. The convolution of the samples with this triangular pulse results in a series of triangular pulses centered and scaled as per the location and strength of the samples. Using straight lines to join the successive tops of these triangular pulses leads to approximation of the signal. Converting this non-causal impulse response to a causal impulse response by delaying it by t results in an output that is also delayed by t. As compared to the simple interpolation done using a zero-order filter, the reconstruction in this case that was done using a first-order filter are continuous. But since the slope is changing at the sample points, the first derivatives of this interpolation are discontinuous. So we can conclude that as we increase the order of the filter, we achieve higher degree of smoothness in reconstruction. To compare the behavior of these three interpolating filters in the frequency domain, we should compute their Fourier transforms. The transfer function of ideal filter has a sharp cutoff at fm Hz, and it removes all frequencies that are greater than fm Hz. The Fourier transform of the zero-order Huld filter is a sinc pulse. This sync pulse is of height t and the zero crossings are at fs hertz. From the main lobe of this transfer function, it can be observed that it has a cutoff frequency of fs hertz, and this filter doesn't fulfill the required sharp cutoff fm hertz. And that's the reason behind the rough approximation of the reconstructed signal. Let's also compare this result with the first order Hall filter. The Fourier transform of this triangular pulse is a sync squared pulse of height t and the first zero crossing at fs hertz. As seen from figure, the cutoff frequency of this first order filter is also fs, as was the case for the zero order Hall filter, and this too doesn't have a sharp cutoff at fm hertz. So both the zero order and the first order filter do not approximate the ideal low pass filter very well. Still, many practical reconstruction systems use them for reconstruction, as the gate pulses and the triangular pulses are easier to generate than the sync pulses. From the transfer functions of zero order and first order filters, it seems that zero order is better than first order filter, as the desired frequencies, that is the frequencies less than fm, are more attenuated in first order Hall filter as compared to zero order Hall filter. This is opposite to what we observed in the time domain, where the first order filter displayed a better performance. So this can be explained in the region where frequencies are higher than fm, where we observe that these unwanted frequencies are attenuated by a larger amount in the first order Hall filter as compared to the zero order Hall filter. Hence the better performance of the first order Hall filter. Let's deal with a numerical problem that gives us an idea of the ideal interpolation method of reconstruction. You are given the spectrum of a signal, you are given xf, and you are told that the signal is sampled by multiplying it with an impulse train, and you are given the Fourier transform of that impulse train. For ideal reconstruction, the sampled signal is passed through an ideal low pass filter with cutoff frequency of 5 kHz. Now the question is, which frequency components will be present in the reconstructed signal? Let's discuss about its solution. Since the signal is multiplied in the time domain, their transforms will be convolved in the frequency domain, and we are given these transforms as xf and hf. From the figure, we can tell that xf is comprised of two impulses at f is equal to plus minus 2 kHz. By convolving xf and hf and using the distributive property of convolution, we get this expression. Let's put a few values of n in this expression. When n is 0, we get two impulses at f is equal to plus minus 2 kHz. Therefore, the frequency present in this signal is 2 kHz. When n is 1, the frequencies present are 8 kHz and 4 kHz. When n is 2, the frequencies present are 14 kHz and 10 kHz. And if we keep on increasing the value of n, it will result in higher frequency components. For reconstruction of this sampled signal, it is passed through an ideal low pass filter that has a cutoff frequency of 5 kHz. So this low pass filter will retain all the frequency components that are less than 5 kHz, and it will filter out the frequency components that are greater than 5 kHz. Thus the reconstructed signal will have only two frequency components, the 2 kHz component and the 4 kHz component at the output. This is all about this video, and thanks for watching.